Hi, everyone. We're back in the studio. This is All Your Data, Bowie and Burns, Take 5. This is our weekly live podcast where we take 5 topics of our choosing, things that are interesting to us. We discuss them at 5 minutes apiece, and we do it every Friday.
All right, and with us is Jerry Bowie of Bowie and Burns, and you're going somewhere exciting this weekend, right? You have a little bit of travel coming up.
Yeah, headed to Jacksonville this weekend. I'm going to present to the Federal Bar Association over there, all lawyers and judges, Jacksonville Federal Bar Association. So I'm looking forward to that. A couple of the judges saw me speak at the University of Florida Law e-discovery conference. So it will be a repeat of deepfakes, but these presentations aren't really repetitive because things are moving too fast. I'm like, every time I do this presentation, I'm swapping in and out slides all the time with the latest info. Literally every single day, there's something new to add. So I have to find something to take out in replacement. So I was doing that frantically last night before I sent them a copy of my slides. So I'll be heading out to Florida.
Yeah, Ferris Bueller was right. Life does move pretty fast, especially with all this technology.
I love it, though. I love the fast pace.
Mhm.
And I'm with Cassie Burns. She's a tech attorney. And you have something going on this weekend, too.
I do. I am going to be attending a fundraiser for, I believe it's Hanger's Heart, and I should have prepped a little bit better before this, but I found out about it through Helen Yoon, who's on LinkedIn, and know her through LinkedIn. I've never met her in person, but it is a nonprofit that supports victims of domestic violence, and they'll be having a live auction and a silent auction as well. So might be able to pick up like a fun excursion event or something. That's what I'm going to have my eye on. And I think they're going to have purses and things like that, but
Okay.
really interested in maybe, event-based things. So, but yeah, that's what I'll be doing this weekend.
Do you have a huge collection of purses, Cassie?
No, that's not my bag.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
No, it's not my bag. I no, that's I mean, I appreciate them from afar, but I'm also probably too much of a tightwad to really get into the the super expensive ones. I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh
goodness.
wow, I could really spend that money on something else. So, yeah.
Yeah,
How about your wife? Does is
she
she
is
good?
not. She is not a bag collector for similar reasons, and she always tells me. Her name's Lydia. She's always telling me, Jerry, you know that I am super low maintenance. I'm not out there buying $5,000 bags like every other woman. And I'm like, well, not every other woman does, but yeah, there's
Mhm.
certainly
So
those that.
when we get to spend a little bit more time together
Yeah,
that we've met, that's something that I'll be able to, commiserate with her on because I'm the same way. I'm just like, money could be spent doing something else.
exactly. Yeah, the opportunity cost is just too real
Mhm,
for her. She's like,
mhm.
I'm not going to spend that kind of money because I could use it on my kids.
Right, right.
So, but yeah,
Absolutely.
that'll be exciting when we get together soon for the Fort Worth Symphony. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So we are going to be going to see Pink Martini together. I was able to use some of my tickets that had conflicting events for. My husband Damon and I have Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra tickets. It's a beautiful bass hall, and I was going to miss like 3 of the last 4 performances, so I just swapped them in and got 8 seats for Pink Martini. And Jerry and Lydia is going to come. A couple of my close girlfriends were going to go. And then I invited a friend of mine from Instagram who is a very well known, like, fragrance influencer. So I'll get to meet her in person for the first time. So I'm excited about it.
That'll be fun.
Hmm.
Should we dive into our topics today?
Absolutely. Let's get going.
The first mutual one that we wanted to do, and I think it's time sensitive, is a legal week recap. I think we've seen a ton of legal week recaps already. Is there anything that you've seen from those recaps that resonate with you? Is there anything that we can maybe talk about that's new for the audience in terms of recap?
I think there's a nice warm fuzzy vibe to Legal Week. Sometimes Legal Week can be, it feels like, for me personally, like spring break, just like really intense, a lot of like, focus on what are we doing in the evenings. And there's always that. We're always happy to see each other and go out and have fun. But I felt like there was so much genuine happiness to be around each other, and also a lot of
I agree.
genuine interest in, we're kind of on the cusp of change because of things like GPT-4 and all the generative AI things coming out. And I think, we're a little cynical towards certain, maybe services or platforms being repackaged and remarketed. And it's kind of the same underlying technology. And I think that there are a lot of us who can be cynics like, oh, it's just like this other tool or whatever. But I feel like there's a lot more open-mindedness of, there may be a whole new wave of how we're going to handle e-discovery, and very, very open-minded and interested in hearing about it. So
Yeah.
excited. Maybe LeVar Burton like set the stage well, when he gave his keynote and he talked about, there are those disruptive technologies. As crazy as it sounds, TV was disruptive at its time, and we may be on the cusp of it. So being open-minded, I think, about how we may change up, or at least be open up to, what, there may be better ways to do some things, going ahead with these new technologies out there. But what about you, Jerry? What was your
It
big
it
take?
really does. I mean, it was very exciting. I really, like you said, I was really impressed by everyone's genuine mood about being back together. And then I thought it was also driven by the chance for disruption. I think disruption is afoot in the
Mm-hmm.
industry. I think we're noticing a lot of money being invested or reallocated to different features, AI in particular. So everyone's got to try and adapt. And so I heard a lot about AI being incorporated into either the current product or a future roadmap. And so those conversations were fun. But with a lot of things going on in big tech and AI, I think that also kind of filtered down to us, because if Google can be threatened with OpenAI and some of the ChatGPT stuff, then it can happen to anyone. So I think incumbents are very much aware that there could be new kids on the block, reinventing things. And
Right.
people have always talked about a complete overhaul of how we do e-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
that I always get that sensation too. And it probably explains why there was a new marketing approach, that we saw at Legal Week, right? To capitalize on that sense of disruption and doing
Right.
things a different
Right.
way. I think
Mhm.
some companies really explored some new marketing approaches.
Right, a little bit maybe more guerrilla
Yeah,
marketing, as opposed to a more polished marketing style, right?
both ends of the spectrum. I
Mhm.
felt like there was the guerrilla approach, and I thought there was the high polish, approach too. So I think on the guerrilla side, we all know that there was the e-discovery sucks campaign that
Right.
we were bombarded with, and then also same thing with Lady Justice, right? And
Mhm.
respectively, those two companies were logical, I think, behind the e-discovery sucks campaign, and then
Mhm.
Disco behind the Lady J campaign, right, on
Right,
both ends of the
right.
spectrum. And then
Yeah,
probably squarely in the middle was I didn't get to go to the booth, but you did, right? The ultimatum booth.
the ultimatum, and I like that one. I thought really resonated because it was very much drilling into, like, our nostalgia, and kind of
Yeah,
a nice, like, nod to, changes afoot. So, and it is, their technology is a little bit different than, as it was described to me, as what we've seen, in existing systems. So, there was also a dog there. So that's always having a furry friend is. I'm telling you, I remember when I was at Driven, I told them we need puppies at our booth that will instantly drive everyone to come hang out with us, cuddle, hang with the puppy for a little bit, and maybe get a demo.
yeah.
But no
Well, you
one has.
never you never said what was actually in the ultimatum booth. What was nostalgic about
Oh,
it?
that's right. It was a Back to the Future car. It was a DeLorean that was tricked out to look just like Back to the Future version of the DeLorean. So,
Yeah, super cool. And there was a hoverboard next to it too. I saw
mhm.
Maribel with her pictures on the hoverboard
Yeah,
next to
someone
it
asked me if I got, and I'm like, no, I'm so, accident prone. I wasn't getting
good on the
anywhere
hoverboard.
near it. So, but
But
yeah.
but they were letting people take pictures inside too, right? Next to the
Yeah, I think
flux
so.
capacitor and everything.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
How
So,
fun. Yeah, so I think when we describe like the marketing approaches, it's all, both ends of the spectrum, and the kind of the ultimatum approach, which really appealed to maybe our generation, and the nostalgia that we have for Back to the Future. And how did they fit an entire car in a
I
booth?
don't know. I mean, I guess the freight elevator obviously is big enough for it, but man,
Yeah,
yeah. And I would assume there had to have been some level of strategy on before any of the other booths can be set up. This one has to,
like
be
roll
set
in.
up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
I
fascinating.
posted a poll on LinkedIn about changing the venue. I mean, even though Legal Week or Legal Tech New York, LTNY, like us veterans call it, is known for being in New York, right? It would
Mhm.
feel weird if it wasn't, but I just feel like with all the fun people that were around, what if we changed it for 1 year? I put, could we have it in Las Vegas? And how did people feel? I
Yeah.
think there was
What
a
was
huge
what was the
response.
what was the response? I mean, how did people flow on that? Like, did they want to
They
do
said
something
yes. Most of them said yes. Yeah, so, like, by a landslide. It was yes. Let's try it at least
different?
1 year in Vegas,
I
so
still have never been to Vegas. Never been to Vegas.
you've never
So
been to the city of
mm,
Las Vegas?
I don't
Oh,
like gambling.
right.
I just, it's like with the purses. I'd rather spend my money on something else. So,
Fair
um,
enough, yeah.
yeah.
I can't say the same. When I lived in Southern California, I went 13 times in 1 year. So that was a little bit
Wow, Jerry.
overkill. Yeah, a little bit crazy. There in 2004, I think, was when I went 13 times in 1 year. And I know that it's 270 miles. So if I drive, and I always drove, if I drive 90 miles an hour, I can get there in 3 hours. That's how how scientific I had it down you know, to the minute.
Did you, I guess, try? I only know about it from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I've read the book and watched
Okay.
the movie, of course. So, drive through Barstow, correct, to get to
Yeah,
Vegas?
that's right. Yeah, all through the desert, through Barstow. I didn't quite have the experience that that main character or that author had for Fear and Loathing. Who's the author for that? Wonderful
Hunter
Hunter
S.
Thomas.
Thompson. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hunter S. Thompson.
No, not quite the hallucinations and delirium he experienced while in
Well,
Vegas.
that's good. So Hugo does make a good point in the chat. There's more to
Oh,
gambling in Vegas now. I could go absolutely to go see Adele or something, right? There are a lot of musicians in residence,
totally.
so
Yeah.
it's shopping. So absolutely right. That's probably how I would spend my time if I were to go to Vegas. But we need to move on to our other topics.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we do.
are you? Yeah, this is yours.
This is mine. So take two is ChatGPT-4 Plugins. So if you've used ChatGPT, you're familiar with the interface and its limitations. Now with plugins, you could bring functionality from the external web into the ChatGPT interface. So what they've created is something equivalent to the Apple App Store. So now you'll have apps, nicely packaged little apps that you can leverage and pull in to ChatGPT. And then the websites that you go to in reverse will also have ChatGPT plugins. So it goes both ways. So it's the third-party apps that pull into the ChatGPT interface, and then it's the ChatGPT functionality that you can put into websites. Right. So Expedia, for example, has a plugin to their website, and there's also the app that you can pull into ChatGPT in reverse. So it's kind of like a two-way street. They did have an API that you could leverage and program against, but now it's nicely packaged in these apps in this app store known as plugins. That's their nomenclature for it. But for example, um, you can have the Open Table app inside ChatGPT and
Mm,
ask for a reservation, right? Just right in there, and it'll tell you what's open, and then you could look at the menu, and then from the menu, then you can go pull in by leveraging the Wolfram Alpha plugin, compute the calories if the menu doesn't have it,
wow.
right? Compute the calories for all of the items on the menu. And then you can pull in, a recipe for any of those items if you prefer to eat in instead. So now all the current web functionality can be pulled in up to date. It's not limited to 2021 anymore. So
Right.
that's what
Right.
these apps facilitate. But that's, just one way of doing it. It's kind of like the browser plugin. You could also have coding plugins. So you can
Mm,
leverage Python now underneath the hood within ChatGPT. And so while it could evaluate and write code for you, now can execute code for you. So anything that's packaged into a Python function, you can actually leverage. You can ask it to, you can upload a photo and have it resize it automatically. You can upload a video and have it just give you the first 5 seconds. So all this multimedia editing functionality, all of a sudden you're turning ChatGPT into like an Adobe Premiere or an Adobe Photoshop just using the Python code underneath the hood in that app, right? And it's just endless now. The app
right.
marketplace is going to be huge with ChatGPT-4. So it's just think about the power and the intelligence of ChatGPT-4 with all of this additional functionality that you're used to in the much broader World Wide Web, right? And that's how they are conquering being the singular first portal to visit when you flip or when you turn on your device, whatever that device is. That's where you go first.
I mean, I think it presents a lot of interesting issues from a legal perspective, something that, there's a lot of chatter, as we said earlier on, about the potential of AI tools or more robust AI tools in the legal space. But you still have to, similar to virtual assistants, you have to consider the potential privilege waiver that can occur. If
Mm,
if you're feeding information into ChatGPT that is privileged communication or work product, there's
that's a good
potential
point.
that there could be privilege waiver. So,
Good
I
point.
think like that's something to think about. I think also proprietary business information. I mean, if I from a someone who wants to explore and be as productive as possible, this is amazing from like a CISO
Yep.
perspective of like trying to tap that in and make sure no one working in any area in your business is doing anything proprietary is just thinking I'm going to make my life easier, let me use this. um that could be some real like information creep that goes out there. So
Yeah.
in job
Think about what Italy did to
right,
ChatGPT.
Italy, yeah, that was the other point I was going to make.
Yeah.
Italy's come out and said it's in violation of privacy law,
Yeah.
so um and then of course we have like the letter that was signed by all these leaders out there, Elon
Right.
Musk and others, who saying like we need to put the
Put a
kibosh on
pause.
it for a while, pause it, talk
Yeah.
about it. So, I think the challenge is if we do put a stop on it, doesn't mean bad actors are going to stop using it. So how are bad actors going to potentially use this technology to further their own, cyber crimes or fraudulent activity? So
Yeah, because they
it,
haven't been vetted or sought any certification around how they treat personal data, right? It's the data
right.
privacy angle, but like you said, it's legal, it's data privacy, it's security, all those things, all those implications need to be evaluated. And just things are moving so fast, there hasn't been time for it. And that's
It's
why
like,
there's a desire to pause or ban it altogether, like they have in Italy, or ban it temporarily. Sorry, like they
mhm.
have in Italy. But with this Chat GPT-4 plugin functionality, now you're uploading a lot more of your personal data. Maybe you didn't do it before, but now you really are. There might have been the opportunity for you to type in something, but if you're uploading
Now you're just giving
photos,
access to, right?
documents, yeah, it's becoming it's going to become a massive central repository, another massive central repository containing a bunch of user data.
Yeah, and John brings up, I saw that, John, that South Park has an episode about ChatGPT that was written, that is listed as a co-author to that episode. I haven't watched it yet, but
I haven't
I'll have
either.
to go check it out. So
It's
my
so amazing
husband,
how fast South Park comes up with their episodes with current, current topics. It's
well, it's really evolved. My husband and I are big South Park fans. We don't watch it that much anymore, but back when we were really poor in the early days, we didn't even have cable TV before streaming wars was even a thing. And we would just watch season 1 through season 12 on DVD of South Park over and over and over and over
oh
and
no
over
way.
again. So yeah, they're it's definitely like hard. Some of the episodes are hardwired into our brain and our own personal lexicon, but have to go check that out this weekend. So thanks
Yeah,
for
me
the
too.
rec. Um,
Should we move on? I'm going to interrupt only because we're trying to stick to the format. Take three. This is yours, Cassie.
Take three. We're gonna make it really fast. This is a book that I read. It's called, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to pull it up. But it's a book about a woman who started a cryptocurrency. The book is called The Missing Crypto Queen, and it's about a woman named Ruja, Dr. Ruja Ignatova, and she started up within the confines of an MLM structure. Was selling coins that was supposed to be a competitor to Bitcoin, and made billions of dollars off of it. You know, because you have the combination of cryptocurrency with MLM,
MLM,
like rollout
right?
billions of dollars. There was not a blockchain to be had. It was all made up, all made
No
up,
way.
all made up.
Okay,
Blows my mind. And it, especially like this is something that's supposed to be, blockchains are supposed to be, you know, so transparent, but it was a
right.
private blockchain. And she was able to like trick these people and follow the dream. They followed the dream, and she's missing now. They don't know where she is. She
Oh
just
my
poof,
gosh.
disappeared.
Uh-huh.
So we'll keep this short because I know we're running, you know, other topics, but again, it's The Missing Crypto Queen. I read it in a hot minute. It was like, so if you like white collar crime, American Greed type shows, this
Yeah.
you should check the book out. It's pretty crazy, that the audacity of some people. But so
It
let's move
just
on to our oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it just sounds like a Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme that
It
used the language of cryptocurrency to get people to
in the language of MLM, like all just like that
uh
combination is just like crazy. But I had not heard of it, but I know other people had, but it's unbelievable. But go on
crazy.
to your take 4, Jerry.
Take 4, and you may have seen my post this week. It's finally I can finally talk about it. This has been in under development for a long time with Interpol, and so they had invited me from my LinkedIn activity, mind you. So if anyone thinks that LinkedIn activity doesn't yield any opportunities, this came directly from
Can.
LinkedIn and just
Mhm.
all of my thought leadership around Metaverse, right? And and Metaverse isn't fully realized yet, but there's a lot of books about it. There's a lot of obviously sci-fi from the past about it. But when you talk about the different components of Metaverse, Matthew Bell's book Metaverse has largely influenced me. But to really understand that it's part blockchain or decentralization, part gaming, and that 3D real-time 3D rendered world. If it is going to be fully VR, there's other there's other interfaces that you can use in the XR realm. But then it's also what's the third piece? Blockchain, gaming, and gosh, I'm missing the third
Mhm.
angle on this. But anyways, used all those components to discuss it and really think about the implications from a forensic perspective, right? And so, since I'm part of the emerging data forensics team, I'm sorry, emerging data sources team at my company. Those are I'm kind of tasked with that. It's my mandate to look at things that
Mhm.
could come to fruition and have opportunities for crime, criminal behavior, and other nefarious activities. And so it's just transferring our own experience to that world. And so Interpol liked my thinking around that and asked me to be an external advisor to their brand new Metaverse expert group. So it's called IMEG, Interpol Metaverse Expert Group. And we had our first meeting this past week with some excellent presentations. And so we're getting kind of the cutting edge thinking around criminal activity within a platform like the metaverse, or platforms that make up the metaverse. So really excited about that, and I am the co-lead of the Metaverse Forensics and Investigation subgroup. There's 4 subgroups, and Christopher Church from Interpol, he's also very active on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
is the other co-lead. So they always have one internal Interpol co-lead along with an external private sector or commercial or academic um, co-lead. So they're really intent on collaborating, and I think the message is that um, this stuff moves so fast you can't handle it all internally yourself. And I
Right.
think that's the message for our entire industry, is that we're learning
Mhm.
with all these new data sources and all these potential things that can really cause us issues with our existing workflows. We need to bring awareness, maybe encourage some change to our workflows, but it's just sounding the alarm, and without being alarmist, and
Right.
letting people know what real potential some of this stuff has for our downstream activities, whether it's the computer forensics, expert testimony, e-discovery, investigations, and just the
or even
normal judicial process.
right, or even broader legal issues. So it's, I think that, as we said over and over again, you may not think that anything's going to come of the metaverse, but that doesn't mean that people are going to test it out, engage in it, and legal issues will arise from it. So
Right.
you really just need to have an open mind and, realize that there may be things that we have to deal with in this space. So
And then there's that thing called the S curve with new emerging technologies, right? There's the
mhm,
initial hype, and
mhm,
then the hype dies down, and then that's where the real work happens, and then there's meaningful products and services created around that technology, and they take hold without you even realizing it.
right,
Because I think you and I both say that the best technology is the kind that is just you're not aware of. It's just sitting in the background,
right.
becomes a part of normal everyday life. But
Well,
you,
it's like Internet of Things. I remember 5 years ago, Internet of Things, everyone in eDiscovery was talking about Internet of Things. All the panels, all the cool panels at Legalweek or Legal Tech were Internet of Things. And now we're not really talking about it that
yeah.
much, but it is pervasive. Like the data is out there. It's it becomes just integrated in our daily life.
hmm Yeah. So and that's the whole basis of our podcast, right? Our
Mhm.
Take Five really is like the new things that we're looking at and the awareness that we're trying to bring. And I tend to focus more on metaverse, and I think you're focused more on I think blockchain NFTs, kind of
Blockchain, NFTs, and then I think we're both very much interested in the generative AI
the
space.
generative. Yeah.
So, I think that, and then something else that's out there that we haven't really talked about is, all the focus on, space exploration. There's a lot of activity out there. So that's something else we'll have to dig into at some point. But
Well,
now we have the last topic.
we do.
And,
That's yours.
and I just wanted to bring it up, to talk about because there have been quite a few people under investigation by regulatory bodies. And when you read the complaint, that's filed against them, whomever they are, there are many to choose from. Signal has popped up more than once as being a point of reference in the facts as part of the allegations. And I
Mhm.
think you know, it's worth reminding people again, like ephemeral maybe means different things. And we saw, in the Murdaugh trial where the son's Snapchat video was very key in kind of helping the jury make their decision. So, I think that it's just worth stating again or bringing up that ephemeral may or may not be really ephemeral. People can still take screenshots. We don't know how they were getting the signal messages. It could have just been screenshots. We don't know. But I would love your thoughts on that from, just
Yeah.
generally from a digital forensics expert.
Yeah, there's a lot in the emerging data arena. There's still the mobile based applications that we deal with, because that's what we carry around every day, and that's how most people
Mhm.
communicate. And if you're going to look for corrupt intent, you'll find it more often than not in the messaging apps, right? People have largely abandoned email for that kind of offline discussion.
Mhm.
Right now, they know that email is discoverable and official, so they've moved it on to other things like WhatsApp and WeChat. But when we polled the eDiscovery group globally here at my company, the top two apps that they chat apps that they see most often are Telegram and Signal, which is
Hmm.
crazy. I mean, this is outside of the normal everyday SMS and iMessage, which is built into the phone. But if you're talking about third
Right.
party apps, it's those two that come up more often than not. So you hit it right on the head. I mean, people are trying to resort to these more ephemeral, encrypted communications to keep things private or to hide illicit activity, right?
Right. But it doesn't mean that it won't get discovered.
Right,
So,
right. I think that's a misconception, is that you're
mhm.
not going to be able to retrieve it. And there's different ways to go about it, and there's always at least two people in a chat dialogue, if not more.
Right, right. I
So,
mean, just because it's gone on your end doesn't mean it's gone on someone else's end. So,
right, we don't want to give away all the forensic secrets here, but there are ways to, um, recover that information.
well, you would know since you're the expert, Jerry. So, don't worry, I won't ask you for any more secrets. But we're at the end of our 30 minutes. We made it. We haven't been live in a few weeks, so we appreciate everyone who joined in. Jaime, hey, how you doing? Nothing is hidden these days. That's a very valid thought right there. There are a lot of things watching us and keeping track of us. But again, we're at the end of the half hour. Thank you all. Those of you who are able to join us live, those of you who may be joining later via podcast, thank you so much for joining us. Keep learning about all the stuff out there. Keep laughing about what you're finding, because you have to keep a good frame of reference to things, and always keep thinking about your data.
That's right. All your data, AYD. And just one last comment, because now it finally came to me just at the end. The components that we're looking at are
Mm,
are
yes.
gaming, blockchain, and cyber, and the
Yeah.
endpoint headsets, or whatever those interfaces end up being. But all of that will encompass the framework that we build for the Interpol Metaverse expert group, and then we'll be eliciting feedback from the community as well. So stay tuned on that front.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for being a leader and sharing with us.
Thank you too.
All
Thanks for
right.
this
Bye,
conversation.
everybody.
See you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.